Now it's time for the Greek of the Week. We're continuing on in Ephesians 1, and we're going to finish up a snippet here with the second part of 8b to the end of verse 10. So where have we been? Let me just remind you where we've been. Basically, he said, let me even go back even further. So just as God chose us in him before the foundation of the world, he chose us to be holy and blameless before him in love, having predestined us for adoption through Jesus Christ in him, according to the pleasure of his good will, and to the praise of the glory of his grace, which he graced us in the one having been loved. This is not typical Pauline style, this kind of compounding this of the this of the this. That's not usual, although it is often suggested that he may have used a different scribe for Ephesians. I noticed that Tychicus is really the only name in Ephesians. I wonder if Tychicus may have had a lot to do with this. I do sometimes wonder if those different amanuensis arguments are a dodge, kind of like, let me use all my intellect to come up with an explanation for something that has a simpler explanation. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. So Jesus Christ, in whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of transgressions, according to the wealth of the grace of him which he bestowed upon us. Again, this is not typical Pauline style. And now we get to the verse of the day. Verses of the day. See if you can pronounce this. Here's how I would pronounce it. This is Erasmian, sorry. En passe Sophia kai phronese gnorisas hemin to mysterion. Mysterion, yeah, mystery. It's a mystery. What does that word mean? It's a mystery. So this first part here, with all wisdom and prudence, I mentioned in last week's video that I think probably Stephanus got it wrong. He put that as part of verse 8 and probably should have been part of verse 9. Hey, you can't get it perfect, especially if you're writing the verse divisions while you're riding a horse. But anyway, that's not important right now. So with all wisdom and prudence, having made known to us the mystery. So in whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins, with all wisdom and prudence, having made known to us the mystery. So passe Sophia, see the little iota hanging on? I'm still here. That's an iota subscript. It's a telltale sign of the dative singular in this case. Don't be thrown off by the fact that this is an eta and this is an alpha. They're both feminine. Adjectives and nouns whose stem ends in a sigma, a lone sigma, tend to do etas. Well, actually, that's not the way to put it. Let me put it this way. That's for forget what I just said. I was thinking something else. If the stem ends in an epsilon, iota, or a rho, they tend to do alphas. That's what I should say here. So Sophia ends in iota in its stem, so it takes all alphas in the singular. So with all wisdom and prudence. Now this is also dative feminine singular. It's phronesis, practical wisdom. This is there's not a huge difference between these two, but phronesis does tend to be more practical wisdom. This is a cis, phronesis. It's a sissy noun. It's feminine. And there is an iota telling you it's dative singular, but this is confusing the way this looks. I mean, you might think, is this a future tense, third person singular? If you know endings, you might be really thrown off by it. But it is, in fact, a dative singular feminine ending. It's just it's not the usual one. It's not the one we learn in the first few weeks of beginning Greek. So, with all wisdom and prudence, having made known to us the mystery, God is the one who's made known to us the mystery. To us, dative plural. Dative plural has an iota too. So lots of iotas in the dative, let's just say. To is a neuter. And so this is the object of gnorisas. So it's accusative neuter singular. The mystery is neuter. Having made known to us the mystery. So what is gnorisas? Well, I don't know what it is. Ha! So gno is know. It is related to the English word know in our one big happy Indo-European family, if you go back long enough in the history of it. Sas is a nominative masculine singular, aorist active participle ending. That's a lot of stuff. And I've got a song for all the nominative singular participle endings that I inherited from somebody else when I taught Greek at Asbury. But anyway, the sa is a telltale sign of it being aorist. Sas, you just kind of have to memorize. It's the nominative masculine singular of the aorist active participle. So the having comes from the fact that it's an aorist participle. The ing comes from the fact that it's a participle. And then it's having made known is gonoridzo, is to make known. It's not gonos, it's gonoridzo, but to make known. So with all wisdom and prudence, having made known to us the mystery. What mystery? The mystery to thelematos autou, the mystery of the will of him, or the mystery of his will is the way we would put it in English. We don't do of the will of him. It's bad English. So we have to do of his will if we want it to be a good English translation. Thelema is a ma noun, but unlike my ma, it's neuter. And the article, so that's a genitive neuter singular version of the article. Could have been masculine in theory, but the pairing up tells me it's neuter genitive singular. I don't know what I said before. The of comes out of the fact that these two are genitive. Of the will. The mystery of the will of him. Kata autou. Kata tain eudokion autou. According to the good pleasure of him. You is good. It's euphonious. It sounds good. I'm in a euphoria. I'm good. So you is good. It's the good pleasure of him. Kata can either take a genitive or a dative. Here it's taking an accusative. I'm sorry. Can either take a genitive or an accusative. And with the tain here, which is accusative feminine singular. Again, don't let the fact that this has an alpha and this has an eta throw you off. Eudokia has an alpha because its stem ends in an epsilon iota or rho, in iota. And so it does all alphas in the singular. But the article never lies. It is feminine singular. And so kata with the accusative means according to the pleasure of him. Lots of hymns. The mystery of his will, according to the pleasure of him. A lot of prepositions, a lot of genitives in the style of Ephesians. All right. Which he purposed in him, which God purposed in Jesus. And again, we saw a which. I'm not a witch. No, we saw it's a relative pronoun which. We saw it a little bit earlier also. Again, part of this very of Ephesians. Which here is a relative pronoun. It is accusative feminine singular, and it's actually correct here. Remember in last week's video, we found that sometimes the relative pronoun succumbs to peer pressure. But if it did, it would have been accusative singular anyway, because pleasure is feminine accusative singular. So anyway, we don't know whether it's is it ain because it's supposed to be, or is it ain because of peer pressure? Well, generally it's genitive and dative where the peer pressure thing works. Okay, he purposed in him, which God purposed in Jesus. So proetheto, what is that? Tain, proetheto, and auto. Proetheto. Pro is a preposition, so I'm thinking this etheto is the key part. Let me just tell you what it is. The theta epsilon it's all that's left, and all that was left was a finger. Theta epsilon is what's left of tithemi. Actually, more accurately, pro-tithemi. He planned, he purposed. He put forward ahead of time. Pro meaning before. Etymological fallacy alert. It doesn't always work that way, but in this case, it does help. So the is what's left of the the in ti, the, me. It's a me verb. Oh no. To is a third person singular ending. It is usually a middle or passive ending, but I think it's just the nature of this word. Like it could be protithemai, but anyway, it's translated something like he planned. He himself planned. Maybe if you want to get a middle in there, he himself planned it. But the epsilon is an augment, the aorist tense augment. So in me verbs like ti, the, me, the ti goes away in the aorist tense, or like di, do, me, the di goes away in the aorist. It's called, I call it funny reduplication, ti, di, because normally you reduplicate with an epsilon. but me verbs in the present tense reduplicate with a iota, which is really weird. And if you don't know what I'm saying, just la 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 la. But this is protithemi, some related protithemi. Because it's in the aorist, the t is gone away. The epsilon is put after the preposition of the compound verb. And so this is aorist. I'm going to say middle, although it might be deponent. But anyway, deponent means it looks passive, but it isn't. But I'm going to go with protithemi. You can look it up. Look up in your dictionary whether it has protithemi. It is related to protithemi one way or another. Aorist, I'm going to say aorist, middle, indicative, third singular from protithemi. That's what I'm going to go with. You look it up and correct me in your comments if it's more precisely something else. All right. Well, I wanted to go ahead and do the next verse 10 because it completes the thought. So God purposed it in him, ace oikonomion to pleiromatos ton chiron, which he purposed in him for the administration of the fullness of the times. Again, this is not very Pauline. Da 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 da. Again, either a different amanuensis or some have suggested Ephesians was written as a cover letter to Paul's letters as they were collected, and everybody would have known it, so there wouldn't have been any lying involved. Again, there's all these debates. But unto the administration of the fullness of the times. In other words, God had it planned for the fullness of the times. This is, you're living in the fullness of the times. God planned this in Jesus for the economy. Notice economy is related to this. For the economy of the fullness of the times. This is all, it was all decreed. It was all understood. This is all part of the plan, and you're living through it, is what Ephesians is saying. Pleiromatos, ma, it's a ma noun, which unlike my ma's neuter. Kairos is a different, so chronos is tick, 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 tick. This video is ticking away. Kairos is more of a kind of time or an appointed time. It's nighttime, daytime, nighttime, daytime. So of the times, this is the time of the Messiah, and this is all purposed in Jesus for the economy of the fullness of the times. And what is the purpose? What's this all about? Well, it is for anakephalaio ta panta ento Christo, okay, for everything to be summed up in the Christ. And I'm going to go ahead and say that the to here is deliberately thinking of Christ as a title. I almost put in the Messiah, but I want to put in the Christ because that's what Christ means, anointed one, or Messiah means anointed one. So the administration, the fullness of the plan of the fullness of the times. And what was the plan? For all things to be summed up in the Christ. That is, ta epi tois uranois, the things in the skies, kai ta epi tes geis enauto, and the things on the land. All right, so anakephalaio is an infinitive. 6 out of 7 infinitives end in I. And the other one is ain, but that's not important right now. So this is an infinitive. The st tells me it's a middle or passive infinitive, so that's where the to be. The to comes from the fact that it's an infinitive. The be comes from the fact that it's a passive infinitive, and summed up is, so kephalaia is the head, for everything to be upheaded, headed up, for everything to be headed up. Again, etymological fallacy alert, but it works here. For everything to be encapsulated, to summed up, under Jesus. It's all under Jesus. What file do I find that under? It's filed under Jesus. It's filed in the Christ. The subject, quote unquote, it's not really a subject, but the accusative of reference of an infinitive is in the accusative case. So ta panta, that's a neuter plural alpha. Bingo! I found a neuter plural alpha. Ta, neuter plural. It's accusative, neuter plural. So for the administration of the fullness of times, for the word for often comes in handy here. For all things to be encapsulated, for all things to be headed up in the Christ. What do you mean by all things? Why, all things in the heavens and all things on the earth. I put skies and land to remind you that they didn't picture things the way that we did. So a little reminder of difference in our paradigm in him. So everything is being head up in Christ, both things in the skies and things on the land in him. And that's everything. in this paradigm. All right, so ta is like a little, it's tacking these prepositional phrases onto the tapanta here. All things, that is ta, tack, 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 the things in the heavens, and ta, tink, tack, tack, the things on the land or on the earth. There's no, I put things in brackets because the word things isn't there. I have to reach into my inner self and pull it out, because it's the substantive use of a prepositional phrase. You've got to come up with the substance yourself. It's implied, and because it's neuter plural, things works well here. In fact, that's the antecedent, the thing, all things. So let's go back and let's look at this verse one last time. So with all wisdom and prudence, God has made known to us, we can make it into a sentence to make it a better translation if you want, although technically this is still saying more about God from earlier on. It's one long, again, this is Pauline, to have long sentences. Having made known with all wisdom and prudence to us the mystery of the will of him, according to the good pleasure of him, which he purposed in him, that is in Jesus, for the plan of the fullness of the times, for all things to be headed up in the Christ, that is, all things both in the skies and all things on the earth in him. And there you have it, the Greek of the week. Ephesians, folks.